Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
We're going to get right away to Darwin Porter. Good morning, Darwin.
Good morning, Anita, and welcome to the dog days of August.
Is it raining in Staten Island?
No, we're having a heat wave. People from Florida can come up here to warm up.
Okay.
I wish we could bottle some of this heat for December, I'll tell you. Anita, there's so much going on, I don't even know where to begin. We'll just hit a few highlights, okay?
Just jump in.
Right before me, I have the galleys of my new book, on Burt Reynolds, but I'd rather talk about Burt more in September when the book is going to be shipped out.
Great.
The title is Burt Reynolds, Put the Pedal to the Metal, How a Nude Centerfold Sex Symbol Seduced Hollywood.
That's a good title.
And it's a hot book. You won't believe it. I saw 187 Burt Reynolds movies.
Really?
Now, of course, most of those were for television. I saw 100 Kirk Douglas movies. 187. And, you know, he worked and he died in Florida at the age of 82. But he worked till the very end of his life, which is what I hope to do. He's a good role model for me. And 2 of his movies haven't even been released yet. So.
Oh, really? Yeah, but they're still going to come out after his death. Wow.
Yes. He said, I want to kick ass until my dying day. And so he did. And
so that's us, Darwin.
What's that?
That's us.
Yeah.
You and I.
We're still, no, but so many other things are happening. I can only probably go into one of them, but this may be, unless there's some major change, this may be the last single biography I will do for a while, because a new vast project is opening up. I'm calling it a family affair. The Carrie Fisher, Debbie Reynolds book went over so big that it seems to have spawned a lot of new ideas for me to get to work on. And the first one, which is already being advertised, these are all family-related books. Another mother-daughter book is I'm beginning right now on Judy Garland and Liza Minnelli.
Wow.
A film devoted to the last years of Judy Garland is set to open in September, and they're re-releasing many of her movies and of course her recordings. And Liza Minnelli has left New York and is back living in Hollywood. She has just got out of rehab, and it's a really tragic story. You know, there have been about 18 books written on the Wizard of Oz, and of course that will be, some revelations will be made in my book, but mostly I want to do what no one has done before, which is to really characterize that mother-daughter relationship. It's almost unique. I've never heard a story, and I've been collecting stories about them for years. It's unlike most, certainly any showbiz mother-daughter story. Just let me give you an example. Both of them at one time found out why their husbands weren't often coming to bed with them, and that was because Mark Herron and the famous Peter Allen were having an affair with each other.
Oh, no kidding.
And their bouts of poverty and their involvement. It's a great story, and but that's not all. Believe it or not, this month they're bringing back, they meaning the Powers Studios, are bringing back Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. Now that would be a husband and wife book, which has never been done. Her somewhere right now, everywhere in the world, they're still showing I Love Lucy.
Yep.
And they're colorizing the things to try to reach today's audience. They're having 2 or 3 big festivals for Lucy. And again, just concentrating on Lucille Ball and Desi, that is a very turbulent story. Let me put it this way. Ever since I met them when I had Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz at the University of Miami, I realized when I met them for the first time that they weren't Lucy and Ricky Ricardo. I mean, what a story that Lucille had. I'll just give you a quick example. Back when she was a struggling actress at RKO, the starlets had to, quote, entertain out of the brokers from New York who financed a lot of RKO movies, and they found in 1937 they found $100 under their plate. Now $100 in 1937 was a bit of money, and with the idea that the girls were to, quote, entertain the gentleman from New York, and let's call it a hooker. And Lucille, now this is where she really got even with RKO from all that it put her through. She ended up owning the studio. I think that's a great
That's
story.
great. I love that story.
And there's a line that should go at least on the back cover of the book from Desi. It said, "Adultery is more fun than marriage, just ask Lucy." And both of them, even during their marriage, they threatened divorce many times, but they had a number of other involvements, and they were often, he was on the road a lot, and oddly enough, there have been a few books on just devoted to Lucille, only with part of the story about her. But anyway, I have a great story of a husband and wife who endured an incredible career. And when I met them, they were the biggest stars in the world, which would be in the late 50s. And I'll go on. The next project, this is called now a father-daughter book, and it's Jane Fonda and Henry Fonda.
Oh my.
Now, those two could not, at one point, Henry said, when asked by a reporter, he says, "I don't have a daughter."
Really?
Of course, they could not have been more politically opposite, but it's a great story eventually how they came together. He was horrified during her period when she was called Hanoi Jane,
right,
and was involved with the Black Panthers and the protesting the Vietnam War, and also they both became legendary stars. And but the ending is great because they came together finally as a loving father and daughter when they did. You may have seen it in Golden Pond.
Yes, I did.
With Katharine Hepburn. It was a wonderful ending to a relationship that was characterized by conflict. And anyway, it makes a great story. It's like a pot boiler, and I'm anxious to do it.
Darwin, I'm very excited about what you're telling me with these relationship books. That's going to be a wow.
Wow. But now there are 2 more. Oh, Lord. How can I do all this before I head for Jupiter? The greatest brother and sister act in show business, which, of course, I would mean Warren Beatty and Shirley MacLaine. It is amazing how a brother and sister suddenly, Shirley before Warren, they became 2 of the biggest stars in the world. But they had a very curious relationship with each other. One very provocative thing that Shirley said is, Warren is the Casanova of Hollywood. I haven't met a woman he hasn't seduced, and I can't quite figure it out. I'm hoping Hollywood will cast us in a love story so I can find out what kind of lover he would make.
Oh no! Oh, that's good.
A very provocative remark, and
right.
I mean, Shirley is an amazing thing. She's tried to tell her autobiography, but you know what I think I've told you before, what I think of star autobiographies. She did give some advice about how to have a successful marriage. She said, I'm married, but I rarely see my husband because he lives in Tokyo. And she said that is the great way for a successful marriage. And of course, it's all about her involvement with the Rat Pack. They called her the Ring-a-Ding Girl. And then Warren Beatty has a very interesting story, which most of it has not been told. And, oh God, there's one more that has just emerged over the last few days. How can I do all this? I'll need your help. You should fly to New York.
Yes, that's true. I'm coming.
A book I just finished last night is called America's Reluctant Prince. It's a story of JFK Jr. Well, part of the story.
Well, we're getting our column coming in our August issue is on our JFK.
Yes,
Jr.
with two revelatory things that's not in this book has become a bestseller. It's written by Professor. Do we have a few more minutes?
Yes, we do. We have 10 more minutes.
It's written by a professor of history from the University of Oklahoma. Now, I have read all of the books by, quote, friends of JFK Jr. None of them has told the story of his life, and I think it needs to be told. But if I get around to it, I would like to tell it from the point of view of mother and son, because this was one of the most powerful mother-son relationships, and it was often characterized by great conflict. I mean, he really wanted to be an actor, and he came under the great influence of Peter Lawford. In this bestseller, Peter Lawford is just mentioned, but Peter Lawford deserves a whole chapter because he was encouraging JFK Jr. to become an actor, and perhaps Peter had his own reasons for doing that, and the mother violently objected to this, and she objected to so much of his life, but had such a strong influence on him. Like, she was horrified at his love affairs. Like, Madonna came into her life, and also the story of. I was surprised in this book. I think Princess Diana gets only a paragraph, and this professor, I don't think, read the 38 books written on Diana, her relationship with JFK Jr. See, I think that makes hot copy.
It does.
Princess
Wouldn't that have
Diana,
been a great relationship? Oh, my God.
Diana rejected the overtures of this real estate mogul from New York. What was his name? He became president. Donald Trump.
Oh, please.
I think his name was... And she rejected
Thank
him.
goodness.
That was his... You remember Trump.
Yeah, right. And, let's not ruin the show, okay? Let's keep going.
and that was a very interesting thing. But it was Jacqueline. Oh, by the way, in this book, he calls her Jackie. My bestseller was Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. If there's one thing she hated, it was to be called Jackie. So I'm calling her Jacqueline, as I did in my book. I wrote 2 books on the Kennedys, and that's where I started to amass information on JFK Jr. Now,
well, wait, before you go, you saw, of course, you know that there was a suicide. I guess it was suicide with one of the Kennedys. You read about that. One of the the granddaughter of.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's been the poor girl has been a troubled girl for years, and I mean, she was born into a life of privilege, and but sometimes these things are just too much for them.
Yes.
And there was a back to JFK Jr. Now, first, oh God, don't ever call him John. There was a side to him that he wanted to go one path in life, and his mother wanted him to go another path. She actually wanted him to be president of the United States. And, you know, he might have been. However, she was also afraid of that. She constantly said, oh, my God, some psycho will assassinate him if he runs for president. And that was a real fear. I mean, she lost her lover, Robert Kennedy himself, and she lost her husband, and she feared for her son. She loved her son very, very much, but she had these constant conflicts with him because he wanted to go in one direction and she wanted to go. And also, I wanted to tell the story of his marriage, which it really has not been told. You know, someone said with Carolyn Bessette, it was hands on, hands off. You know, they both carried on affairs all during their marriage, and Carolyn had this hot, passionate affair with Michael Bergen, who was a Calvin Klein underwear model, and JFK Jr. was sleeping with another woman on the last night of his life at the Stanhope Hotel. So that alone is an interesting story, and apparently Jacqueline really objected to nearly every woman that came into her son's life. I don't know what her ideal woman would be for her son, but
Princess Diane, I guess.
Well, yes. I mean, wouldn't that have been
that would have been fantastic.
That would have been the headlines that we would still be talking about.
Yes, that's true.
Now, American media now is considering hiring us to do a podcast. They liked the podcast we did on the murder of Marilyn Monroe, and Danforth Prince, my publisher and your friend, did a very wonderful narration, and I'm looking forward to that being released. And so, guess what? They're considering for the next film, and I'm up to write the script, which would be on JFK Jr. But in a film, you can only just do so much of his life. I mean, so much. It really requires a book. And I like the idea that American media is trying to introduce cultural icons of the 20th century now to a new generation. The recent poll, you know, they take a poll every minute in this country. They found that baby boomers are the ones buying the book on JFK Jr. because, believe it or not, some of the new generation have never heard of him.
Oh, my heavens. Yeah, I guess that's true.
I mean, he's so familiar to us, but
sure.
So anyway, we'll see how that comes back. And some of the other figures, and I would feel at home writing about all of them. Hot on the list are Elizabeth Taylor, Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley.
Oh, my
Marlon
goodness.
Brando,
this is so exciting, Darwin. I can't get over it. It's what a great thing that you've come up with, that they've come up with for you. And only you could do it. So this is just fantastic. And again, you are just up there doing your thing. I hope you're happy. I miss seeing you. And I know that you're feeling well. You sound wonderful.
Well, I feel great. My mind is hysterical because what is the song goes? Each new day brought something new to do.
Oh my goodness! And your Airbnb is still going strong, I gather.
Everything. Oh my God! Meeting some of the movers and shakers of the world.
Oh my God.
I'm really getting an education like the chief banker for Sri Lanka. I'm learning about the world. I've spent most of my life traveling the world, but I'm learning about incredible people that I'm meeting, and it's just a little too much. And
no, it isn't. I've loved so much having this relationship with you and our listeners. So many listeners wait for your show to come on every month, and the magazine. So thank you, Darwin. We have to go, but I've loved this. What a great idea. I'm so excited about what you're going to be doing.
Well, the best of luck to you, and have a good show and a happy summer, and I hope to speak to you in September.
We'll be talking. Bye, Darwin.